Good day. It is amazing how some unrelated events lead to realities that are much more bigger than anybody ever envisaged. Who would have thought that in 1492, when Christopher Columbus was begging Queen Isabella, Queen of Spain, and the king then, that they should fund him to come to America. Who would have thought that that would have reached a golden age for Spain and eventually for Portugal also? Because these countries were the first countries that moved into the New World and exploited the benefits of the New World. And through the gold and all the wealth they got from the New World, they became preeminent powers. Who would have thought also that moving into China and India, trading companies, the East Indian Company, will lead to Holland, a small country, Dutch. The Dutch, very small, still small till today, but they became the preeminent power. At one time, the Dutch gulden was the dollar of that time. It was actually the Dutch gulden that was the preeminent global currency at one time. That will show you the kind of power that the Dutch wielded at one point in time. It was just from trading expedition into the Far East. These unintended benefits of good decisions who nobody knew would end will be good decisions, or even bad decisions that may end up being calamitous and destroy empires, is what has always defined man. The Dutch eventually left the scene quietly. They didn't leave, let me just say. They formed an alliance later on with the British, but the British became preeminent. And who would have thought that the British, their preeminence had a lot to do with the invention of the steam engine? Something as simple as finding out how to harness more power from steam led to the locomotive and led to so much unleashing of industrial output that gave Britain such a powerful preeminence in the 18th and 19th century, the Industrial Revolution. These are very touching things that you just don't know. Eventually, the British, we know their imprint on the world, they really left a big one. But who would have also thought that going to call America to come and help you defeat the Germans in World War One, and calling them again to help you defeat the Germans again in World War II will lead ultimately to the collapse of your empire. In fact, all the empires, almost all the empires of the European states, France and Britain particularly, were lost because of their enterprise. Then who also would have thought that prodding and pushing and finding a way to destroy Russia will ultimately lead to the disaggregation, dismantling, unraveling of Western civilization as we know it. Right before our eyes, we are seeing things change at a level and at a manner that nobody comprehended. Because who would have also thought that the collective will of 32 states, backed preeminently by America then, under Joe Biden, and conveniently with the human fodder of the Ukrainians, stacked up against the Russians 3 years down the road, the NATO forces, the Ukrainian forces, and the Americans have been comprehensively defeated. They've not come to that realization that they have been defeated, but they have been defeated. Because in not able to being able to push their will, America has, under a new president, has said this war, we are slowly easing away from it. The Europeans can continue with it since they want it. Because in everybody's calculation going into the war with Russia, nobody foresaw China. A China that has become the stanchion, the pillar, the backbone, and the economic mainstay of the Russians. Of course, it was by economic means that they sought to destroy Russia. They have failed woefully in their project. Russia is enjoying barely this year 1.5% growth. That 1.5% growth is still very much ahead of growth in Western Europe. But it is also coming out of the fact that they had enjoyed extraordinary growth in the past few years and there was inflation, so they chose to cool down their economy. Nobody sees these things coming, but this is where we are now. And America, President Trump yesterday put out a tweet that has really changed the face of this war. He says this war is now a project for the Ukrainians and for the Europeans. He believes strongly that since they are very committed to it, they can win back all the territories Ukraine has lost, and that he wishes them well. America's role now going forward will be selling arms to the Europeans. Meanwhile, America does have other standing issues to discuss with Russia. And today, that happened in the United Nations General Assembly sidelines, where Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov met with the Foreign Secretary of America, Marco Rubio. Good day, and welcome to my channel, Ebima Amongo's Perspective on Global Affairs. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. If you have any views regarding the opinions I expressed in this video, please put them in the comment section. Do well to like and share. President Trump bamboozled the world yesterday with a very intriguing tweet. We call it tweet, he calls it truth, because he usually posts it on his Truth Social. That is the one he formed by himself. And that is where he puts out this, I will insist tweet, because tweet is not a verb. Anyway, it was all about the fact that since the Europeans continue to insist that Russia is losing the war, there's fuel crisis in Russia, the economy is bad, all the narrative that the Europeans want to believe and the Ukrainians want to believe, he spelled it all out in that tweet. And then he now said it is now a project for the Europeans and the Ukrainians to continue with. But we know that President Trump has always harbored for a long time, even before he became candidate Trump, he talked a lot about how it is very important and imperative that USA has better relationships with Russia. He is saddened by the fact that the antagonism towards Russia ultimately led to a greater strategic partnership between Russia and China. Comprehensive strategic partnership, that's how they call it. The only thing is that, as at this moment in time, the Chinese don't get into military alliances. If not, it probably would have been a strategic military partnership, but it isn't yet. But they do cooperating at a level that is not seen. A corporation that has seen their economy grow and their trade grow to $250 billion, a lot to do with oil and gas going to China and consumer goods and banking products going to Russia. It's a beneficial relationship to both countries. And that is the horror for President Trump. That is what he would, every American geopolitical thinker who wants America to have and continue to have leverage would have wanted Russia to be on their side, but they've lost Russia to China. So this talk is ongoing, better relationship with Russia. Whether the Europeans like it or not, America has decided to look out for itself, because we should remember that President Trump is an American first president. So today they did have that meeting on the sidelines of the meeting lasted almost an hour. There were quite a number of discussions going on, but in line with the theme of this United Nations conference, one which is dominated by just two particular clear issues: the Ukrainian conflict and then the issues of the genocide in Gaza. That formed also somehow, because they have a big media contingent from the European countries. Nobody is escaping it. And because of that, that meeting ultimately was one that led to Rubio and Lavrov to have to address this matter of Ukraine. President, they were following up on all the discussions regarding Ukrainian peace in Alaska. They had already had this meeting between, at the presidential level between President Trump and President Putin in Alaska. And a lot of this discussion had to do with it. The meeting lasted just under an hour and resolved primarily around the Ukraine conflict, according to tight-lipped statement made after the conversation by the two parties. The secretary reiterated President Trump's call for the killing to stop and the need for Moscow to take meaningful steps towards a durable solution to the Ukraine war. And the foreign ministry offered a slightly more, the Russian foreign ministry offered a slightly more detailed readout, talking about how the two of them agreed to continue constructive dialogue between Russia and the U.S. foreign ministries. Russia and U.S. want to normalize their relationship for a long time. Under the first, just at the waning days of Obama's presidency, President Obama accused the Russians of interfering in American elections and used that as an excuse to seize some diplomatic properties of the Russians. That has damaged their relationship, and then Biden came and continued with it. So those matters have to be resolved, and those are some of the matters they want to resolve so that they can get back some diplomatic properties. And after getting back these diplomatic properties, they can now go ahead and talk about other things. Strategic arms limitation is on the board. President Putin did mention very seriously about how the strategic SALT treaties about the new START treaty, pardon me, signed by Dmitry Medvedev and Obama in 2010, is about to expire again, and the Russians had extended it by 1 year. Putin and Biden, even in the midst of all their disagreements, they extended it by 1 year. But in February, it will be expiring. And Putin yesterday called that it's very imperative that agreement is one of the few remaining agreements, nuclear limitation agreement between America and Russia, that agreement should be renewed going forward while they work out other issues. So that is on the board. Cooperation in the Arctic is on board. And even though it was a very brief meeting, they know that these are issues that pertain to their countries. There's still economic discussions. There's big oil and gas developments all across Russia that American companies are still very interested in taking part in. But the antipathy towards Russia is still very strong. It is strong in the Congress, it's strong in the Senate, it's strong in the political class, and it's strong in the finance class also. BlackRock has severe investment in Ukraine, and if you're a company that controls $10 trillion under management, you have influence, severe influence. So BlackRock itself makes sure that they keep that matter in the front burner. The Rothschilds all across their planes. We know the 5 Rothschild children have a hand in creating 5 central banks all across Europe and America, and for that reason, they also have very strong investment in Ukraine. These are not the ones we tend to see. The bankers are not the face of this war. We always see the politicians, but the politicians are puppets being moved by the interests of the bankers who stay behind, the bankers and the financiers. They run this war. Anyway, this is what Marco Rubio said after the meeting.
Some of the numbers we are seeing in the loss of life among military personnel, for example, destroyed. Some of the numbers we are seeing in the loss of life among military personnel, for example, on the Russian Federation side, are staggering. Staggering. In 1 month alone, more loss of life than in the entirety of the U.S. engagement in Afghanistan or Iraq. This war has to end, and we have done everything we possibly can and will continue to do everything we possibly can to bring it to an end. Very generous offers have been made. For example, a ceasefire at the current lines of contact, while all the other details on the future of the conflict could be worked out in terms of future territory be destroyed.
So at the back of that meeting, there, at the back of Marco Rubio, we see Kellogg and the CIA director. who former CIA director who is now in the United Nations, they are very big hawks against Russia, and they are the ones who whisper in the president's ear. Sometimes Witkoff listens to the president listens to Witkoff. Sometimes he listens to Kellogg. But these days, especially in this forum where they have a lot of Europeans and they have the Ukrainians, it's Kellogg that is having his day. But President Trump's tweet yesterday was non-ambiguous. What I read out of it was that he was washing his hands out of it. President Trump also addressed a second very pertinent question regarding the Arabs. The Arabs really are concerned about what's going on in Gaza, and they made it known that they can't tolerate a situation where Israel occupies not only Gaza, but goes ahead and occupies the West Bank. We have heard statements by Smotrich. We have heard all the ultra-nationalists there. The Smotrich, the finance minister, insisting that they would have to occupy the whole of West Bank. The West Bank is a benign part of the Palestinian Federation, and that part is where Mahmoud Abbas is, and it's under siege practically by settlers who really want to take that part and chase out the Palestinians in the West Bank. That's another talking point. And when he met with President Trump, went with the 7 Arabian countries, he promised them that he will not allow Israel he will impress upon Netanyahu. It's a calling on Netanyahu not to go ahead in trying to annex the West Bank. But for that, he will say that he insists that Hamas should release the hostages. There should be a permanent ceasefire, a phased Israeli withdrawal, and post-war Gaza administration without Hamas. He is proposing that an Arab coalition led by Pakistan and some other Arab countries should be the ones for providing security and running the administration of Gaza. How that is going to work and how that is going to be acceptable to the Hamas is still not known. But we are seeing quite clearly in front of us here now, we are seeing that things have changed in the Middle East. The Middle East have come together in unity because what Israel did was a clear indication that Iran, they may have used propaganda and because they had access to the narrative, they had only the mainstream media. But over time, Twitter, TikTok, Telegram, and all these channels have come to give some meaning to the Iranian logic. But the 12-day war showed clearly where Iran stands militarily. And they also, over time, have been seeing that the dynamics has been changing. Israel could act with impunity and not get scolded or not get controlled. But the attack on Qatar clearly was one that showed every single monarch and regime in the Gulf Cooperation Council and all the Arab states, including Egypt, all the former foes and enemies have come together. Jordan, who have always been a close ally of Israel, Egypt, all now realize that, friend or foe, it just takes a little time. The day the Israelis put you in their sights, they will do a decapitation strike against you. So now, with one voice, they are impressing upon Trump to rein in Israel. One thing too that has come up is that Pakistan has found a new purpose for themselves. They have given and signed an agreement where they will give a nuclear umbrella to Saudi Arabia, a defense pact that they signed with Saudi Arabia. They will deploy quite a lot of human resources. Pakistan has almost 100, I think maybe 200 million people. They have quite a lot. Most of these Gulf countries are quite small. Besides Egypt, which has like 100 million, and Saudi Arabia, which has 30 million indigenous and 10 million immigrants. So 40 million almost. All the rest are very puny. UAE, funny enough, has about 10 million, of which only 3 million are from the UAE. The rest, 7 million migrant workers. So Pakistan does have the wherewithal as regards to human capital that they can bring to bear in any confrontation. So they can deploy land forces and they can actually deploy missiles and and warheads and all that. It's what they have now that has made them sought after by Kuwait, by Qatar, by all the countries in the Middle East. All have run to Pakistan and said, well, that protection we thought we were going to get from America, we're not going to get it. And today it emerged also in the United Nations when Pakistan, Masood Pakistan, the president of Iran was making his speech. He did say that he endorses what was going on with the defense pact of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia and Iran had always had a problem, but now they have a common voice. They now know that they have a common enemy. Another thing to happen very seriously in Iran today, Iran did something unprecedented. We've been getting a lot about Iran. I think the understanding of where Iran really is as a military might was when Russians, humble, quietly went and got Shahid drones. Nobody thought that, nobody foresaw that strategy. They went to Iran and got Shahid drones. And Shahid drones became very effective in depleting all the interceptor missiles of the Ukrainian Patriot missile batteries. It was a very effective strategy. Nobody foresaw that coming. And the Shahid drones, not only that the Russians got it, they got a license to produce it. And then they now over time have iterated on it. They call it now Geran 2, Geran 3. These are very powerful technologies that really changed the war, tilted the drone battle and drone war in favor of the Russians. We know that the Ukrainians had an agreement with the Turks, Bayraktar, and they had that Bayraktar and they used it very effectively. The Turkish drones were very effective in helping Azerbaijan destroy Soviet weaponry that were in the military of Armenia, and they won the Nagorno-Karabakh war. But now they deployed the Bayraktar in the early phase of the special military operation, especially when they had a column of tanks going into Kiev. They used it to decimate some of those tanks, and the Russians quickly made a retreat. That was not the main reason why they made their retreat, though. But they got to understand that these drones, and when it came to the drone war, the Russians were very way behind. But Iranian technology quietly, literally changed that. We also heard again that the Iranians are selling to the Russians 40 gas turbines for power plants that the Russians already have or are building. They are replacing some of those gas turbines that Siemens used to provide for them. It is now Iranian gas turbines. Already we know Iran has a large manufacturing base. They manufacture tractors, they manufacture cars, trucks, they manufacture domestic cars. Many of these is not known because it is for their own internal consumption, and maybe the countries of Central Asia there may know about some of these Iranian products. But today we got one serious news. Iran told us that they had infiltrated the nuclear facilities and nuclear program of Israel, and they put it out in their television system for everybody to see. It was such a comprehensive intelligence coup that you will only think it is only Mossad, CIA, and the MI6 that can pull this kind of thing. But it was such a big cache of data and information that the Iranians claim they have. And to show that they do have it, they put out their head of intelligence. The head of intelligence put out this is the man, the head of intelligence. He made a statement. They weren't bragging about it, but they're just letting the Israelis know that the Ministry of Intelligence, we have documented Israel's weapons information archive. The Israeli Ministry of Security, Iranian Ministry of Security published photos of scientists involved in the production of the nuclear bombs of Israel. This is from archives that Iran acquired a few days before the 12-day war. Researchers and human projects have been identified. Successful transfer of documents from pre-identified bases is also only part of the powerful combined intelligence and operational measures. So they showed in their video here, they showed us what they got. They they got documents, they got the passports of the scientists, they got so much in information that it was quite frightening. And they also got to tell us that they have cooperation. They found out that there's extensive cooperation between and collaboration between America and European countries. It was very telling. They said they put the location, they put the site plans, they put the researchers. The documents also contain list of researchers, scientists, and senior managers of the weapons program. And they also including Americans, including Britons, eh, European scientists related to the program, along with addresses of facilities, companies, and all their associates. They only gave out quite a few of those documents. They said they have millions of pages of documents, and that those intelligence assets are still, in fact, what they are doing a reverse of what the Mossad did on them. The Mossad has quite a lot of assets in Tehran, and the Mossad head was boasting the other day that he does have this intelligence still on ground. It was through this intelligence that large amounts of drones were built. Those drones were armed and then they were used in standoff operations in Tehran and killed a lot of the scientists, nuclear scientists, and did most of the programs, wiped out the air defense systems that were on the surface. They were very effective in using their own ground assets. But the Iranians have found them out. The Iranians caught quite a lot of them. They blamed Afghani immigrants or refugees, and they've sent a lot of them. Over 1.5 million Afghans have been kicked out of Iran, and Iran has been bolstering its air defense system and got some MiG-29 from Russia. They're expecting MiG-35s. And they also got some air defense from China, or that's what we hear, that they're getting some air defense systems from. There's a war coming. Everybody is saying there's a war coming. Israel may strike again, but I don't really see how that is going to be possible. Israel is a country that needs a lot of bombs. They have extended themselves. They've been in 3 years of war. They are really worried at this point in time. Now, especially as Egypt has amassed quite a lot of weaponry against the spirit of the Camp David Accord. They have massed, the peace treaty following the peace treaty between Israel and Egypt, caused against that spirit, not the Camp David, against that spirit of that particular treaty. They've sent quite a lot of weaponry to the Sinai, in the deserts there, and it's worrying, very close to Israel. It's worrying, it's creating a lot of worry for Israel. And all these countries now ratcheting up and coming up against Israel. Israel is now looking at several flanks. Israel can't fight very many wars, no matter how. They can't go and involve themselves in a war now with Iran at a time now when all the other countries have their tail up against them. So people keep saying that Israel would strike again, but the Iranians are posturing, the Iranians are signaling that any attempt by Israel to make, they will respond. They keep practicing, they keep showing us new missile systems they have. And I think what they are doing is that they're taking the easy way out. Maybe if they puff and huff enough, Israel may consider, and maybe if President Trump impresses upon Netanyahu, he may slow down. Already, European bankers have already turned against Netanyahu. The very fact that they are now instructing their political puppets like Macron and Starmer and Sanchez and all these other ones to stand up against Netanyahu. Netanyahu is now being quarantined, isolated. That is not part of us. It's almost like how the Germans quietly quarantined Hitler and says it's not part of us. But to a large extent, Netanyahu is a reflection of the Israeli society. Everything he's doing now, the Israelis approve of it. But the backlash they are getting, they didn't expect it. They've lost the plot. They've lost quite a lot. And now the Jews in New York, the Jews that control the banking and financial industry are beginning to worry that Netanyahu and his action and his administration. It is now being said, and it is for when they start saying the Netanyahu administration, it means they are creating distance between themselves and him. He is beginning to be isolated, and already has already told his people that they may get ready for a period of autarky. But he is not only having a conflict in the foreign place where America had always supported and helped him. He went and fought American allies. This time around, he bombed Qatar, and the benefit that the Middle East bring to the American economy by way of buying of treasuries, by way of buying of weaponry, is being put in jeopardy here now. They are now all looking to Pakistan, and by looking to Pakistan, what they're just doing is that they are looking to China. The world is we're in a multipolar world now. Before they didn't have where to go to, but now they do have where to go to. And America cannot go doing regime change in all those countries. CIA just doesn't have that resource to change the monarch in Saudi Arabia, change the one in Jordan, change it. That time is the Saudi. They have other issues now. They've been depleted. They've put themselves thin. They also have a project going on in Venezuela now. Netanyahu is not in a good place to be starting any war, and I don't see any reason. People feel that he is going, and a lot of geopolitical analysts feel that Netanyahu will, in desperation, he has had a legal problem for a while now, one by which he escapes every time by starting one new war. 7 wars in the past 3 years. But I doubt if he can. He has reached that point where things have turned. There's an inflection point. Even Donald Trump has come to see that he cannot commit American resource to helping Netanyahu. The voices of MAGA are turning against him. Tucker Carlson is turning against him. Steve Bannon is turning. Marjorie Taylor Greene. The voices are increasing. And slowly, even the great supporters of the Israeli project within the billionaire class in America are slowly seeing that it is not in their interest to continue to forcefully push the American political class into taking actions that run variance and run counter to the sensibilities of the whole world. Recently, there was a push to recognize and invite Palestine into the United Nations. 140 countries accepted it. Only 10 countries stood against it. America, Israel, Hungary, and some countries in the Pacific. Of course, there was also Argentina. Argentina's Milei was funded by a very powerful Jewish financier in Argentina. It is his supporter, so maybe that is why he has to do it. And he needs America anyway, because his economy is in a bad shape and he needs America treasury. So he needs to be on the good side of America. They are the only ones standing against the Palestinians. The whole world has turned, and America is not. So Iran did show a lot of power. I want to continue also. There's a big campaign going on now that is going to a big flotilla of people sending sending aid to Gaza. Spain has announced, because this flotilla is being attacked relentlessly by drones, Israeli drones. So Spain has announced that it is sending a vessel. Spain, in fact, I think Italy too also made that announcement, supporting the global Sumot flotilla, and a Spanish Navy high sea patrol ship will follow them. It's a 93-foot-long warship manned by 52 specialized sailors. Pedro Sanchez has been one of the most fervent of all the Europeans. The Spanish, they are interrupting all the Israeli involvement in sports, in cultural activity within the sphere where they can control. So we see this happening a lot in Italy, particularly, where the government has not made a stand against Israel. The people have. There's demonstrations. There's a lot of demonstrations, and That is what is going on. Let me end this last segment I want to end with now. It's also about demonstrations. This time around, it is demonstrations in a very unlikely part of the world, the Philippines. The Philippines had found themselves to be in turmoil. The Philippines, we should know, is under the rulership of Ferdinand Marcos Jr. It's called Bongbong. He turned the policy of the Philippines 580 degrees straight into the arms of America, took it away from the policy that had been pushed by the former president, the Duterte, Rodrigo Duterte. Incidentally, Rodrigo Duterte was charged today for actions against humanity by the International Criminal Court, and he was practically kidnapped from Philippines and sent to The Hague, and today he was charged. But demonstrations have been going on in Philippines. It is demonstration against Bong Bong. His name is Bong Bong. That's Ferdinand Marcos Jr. His name is Bong Bong. Came out of nowhere. But there's something happening in that neighborhood. That neighborhood is restive. Indonesia had a big flare-up of demonstrations. Nobody foresaw it coming. Nobody can really explain what happened. They always we tend to think that it is the national endowment, the all those agencies and NGOs of America, USAID and NED that may be doing this. But in these cases here in Nepal, in Indonesia, in Thailand, in Cambodia, these places have been restive for some time now. And we really don't know. But in this particular case, as regards to the one in Philippines now, it has to do with the spark here now has to do with corruption. The corruption is about contracts for flood control that they feel that those contracts were not properly implemented. Manila turned into a battlefield over a trillion peso corruption scandal. Over 20 cities erupted in protest, and in Manila, 50,000 people clashed with riot police outside the presidential palace. And it was quite a rowdy one. They feel that a lot of the money vanished. And this year is how the demonstrations went. So the demonstrations were all over Pakistan. I think I mixed up my screen I was sharing there, but this is it. It was quite bloody in many places. It was almost violent, very violent in some parts of Palestine. It was very chaotic. So many cities. Yeah, that neighborhood is very restive. Generally, the whole neighborhood there is restive, and it's a worry. What one is wondering now is there a geopolitical implication to it? Because what we know is that Duterte was very close to China. He turned there. He felt that they should be anchored within the ASEAN region. He felt that they should benefit from the growth and the renaissance going on in ASEAN, where now China is the biggest trading partner of all the countries of ASEAN, individually and collectively, $1 trillion in trade. All these countries do have some measure of Chinese investment because they are looking to diversify. They have a lot of foreign direct investment from China for their hotel business, for their manufacturing business, for their electronic business. And they've had a beneficial relationship with China. Many want to turn to China, Vietnam, Cambodia, even Thailand. Thailand has just had the benefit of a BYD factory. And all these countries are moving closer. But somehow the Philippines have suddenly become an anchor point from which America is trying to join a coalition that includes South Korea and Japan to form a chain. They already are the first island chains, and the Philippines gave them back the Subic. There are very many bases they have. They are the biggest and the most notable being the Subic Bay base, and they have reactivated it. They sold it. The Americans had left, but they came back, and now America is fully back there again. Now they were even talk about putting Trident. Tomahawk missiles there that can be nuclear tipped and that's very close to China. Oh, China has always been having a problem with the Philippines. They think they have some island chains, some islands there that they dispute. And Philippines have been very dogged, looking for that war with China, probably. But the Chinese and the Filipino Coast Guards have been having quite a lot of problems. Sometimes the Chinese will send their armada of fishing vessels to go and do the talking on their behalf. It's been going on for a while now, but for this period now, we really don't know who is behind this now. Bong Bong, that's the Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is under stress. He has not had this kind of crisis before. There's one great analyst, geopolitical analyst called Brian Beletic. He feels that America's hand is in every single crisis within that neighborhood. And you won't doubt him. He is well read and well heeled in that particular regard. So he does know quite a lot about what's going on there. But whatever it is, Bong Bong has not been seen. He's been in hiding. And there's speculation. But for no doubt about it, his vice president, incidentally, is Duterte's daughter. And there's a problem between two of them. He tried in the last election, he tried to get her ousted because he wanted quite a lot of the senators to come from his own coalition so that they can oust her. But I don't think they succeeded in that particular regard. And she's still there, very strong and very solid. And we just don't know what's going to happen to him. He doesn't seem to have that grassroots support. But we should remember that he formed a coalition and an alliance with the Duterte family, and it was expected that they will have a calm one, but he made it an about turn, got closer to America, and in order to get the former president off his back, he orchestrated the arrest of the former president to the International Criminal Court, and has also tried to break up the relationship with his daughter, tried to impeach her, but that is now seems to be backfiring on him. Whatever, that's a space we are watching. Philippines is now in the crosshairs of geopolitics, either that or it may just be that it is a local play and a local frustration and anger and angst that has been collecting for quite a while because the corruption there has boiled up. We saw what happened in Nepal. It was a very brutal one. The political class was almost decimated, and it was the Gen Zs that pushed it. There may just be a cleaning up of the stables going on in that region. This is where I end my video for today. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If you have any views regarding the opinions I've expressed, please put them in the comment section. Do well to like and share. Goodbye. Until I see you in my next video.